another time of reflection coming to you from the studio of Faith Temple Assembly of God Church in the beautiful city of Montego Bay. So good to have you with us. Let me welcome everyone that has joined us virtually today, those in the diaspora that are with us. We come to you on YouTube at Faith Temple AOG and Facebook at Faith Temple AOG. And if you are a Cornwall Communication subscriber, you'll find us on channel 253 Faith Broadcasting Network. We invite you to share with a friend or to start a watch party or to call someone and invite them to share in the next 45 or 50 minutes with us today. You can also call us. We are on 952-3436, 979-6856, area code 876. That is 952-3436, 979-6856, area code 876. My guest today is a beautiful lady, a beautiful doctor. She's Dr. Tanique Bailey Small, the Deputy Medical Officer of Health for the parish of St. James. And guess what, friends? Our discussion today is about COVID-19. Let me tell you something else about Dr. Bailey Small. She has just completed her training to be a Justice of the Peace for the island of Jamaica, residing in the parish of St. James and Trelawney. Somewhere between both you'll find her. But she's getting ready to be commissioned soon as another Justice of the Peace, hardworking mother and professional. And so we're so happy to have her. Welcome, Dr. Bailey Small. It's good to have you.
Thank you very much, Custis. I'm very happy to be here with you today.
Wonderful. Anything else you want to tell us about yourself before we go into the discussions? But before we do that, let us offer a word of prayer. Father, we thank you for your goodness and for your mercies. We are so blessed, Lord, as a people, and we give you the honor, we give you the praise. Today, as we join in this time of reflection and discussion around matters that concerning us as a people, we thank you for the privilege and we thank you for the opportunity. We remember those in our medical profession and medical professionals, doctors, nurses, and the support team around them each day that are in the front line of this devastating virus that has taken the world. We ask, oh God, that you will grant them your goodness and your coverage, most of all, your divine protection for them during these difficult times. We ask you, Lord, that you will just be with us in a very special way today. And as our doctors speak to us, we pray that we will be more enlightened and be more informed as to the processes and what we need to do as a people to protect ourselves, our families, our loved ones, and our friends. Grant this, we ask in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
So, Doctor, anything else you want to tell us about yourself that I haven't said?
Yep. Well, essentially, I grew up in the parish of Hanover. I'm a true country girl, and I'm always happy just to interact with persons. In addition to that, I just want to say that I have a really wonderful husband. I know a lot of people will say, and you're thankful, happy for them as well. But I really
Wonderful.
have to give God thanks
Great.
for him.
Beautiful.
every day.
See, she is a Christian and she's a family woman. Before we go into discussion, let's hear a presentation from Simone and Company. I was blessed on Sunday morning, right throughout Sunday, Simone presented the ministry with the group. So let's listen to her today, and I trust that you will be blessed also. Seems as if we're having some challenges. We should apologize also for our late start. We had a unscheduled power outage for almost 45 minutes, and we were not able to come to you at 12 p.m. and we're still having some challenges. But I'm promising you that if you don't hear Simone today, before the week is over, we are going to ensure that you hear that presentation. That ministry is beautiful. So we're going to go right into our discussions with Dr. Bailey Small on the topic COVID-19 and how it affects Jamaica. Remember, during the discussion, if you want to ask Dr. Bailey Small a question, you can call us on 876-952-3436 or 876-979-6856. That is 952-3436 or 979-6856. So, Dr. Small, you are the professional here, and I dare say that no medical person right now can claim to be professional when it comes to COVID. It's just a free flow, fluid
Yes,
situation
it is.
that you are all learning as you go along. But I thank God for your patience and your willingness to study this virus so we can be successful. So can you tell us now, what is the present extent on Jamaica where COVID-19 is concerned, and just what is this virus?
Okay, so essentially, COVID-19 is caused by the SARS-CoV-2 virus, and essentially it's a coronavirus. We actually have quite a number of viruses that are circulating, but only few of them really cause illnesses in humans. Particularly this particular strain of the virus essentially was initially, before it was named, it was called the novel coronavirus, and this would have been brought to the forefront in the ending of December, and by the 31st, it started in China, and by the 31st of January it was declared a public health emergency of international concern. And so this particular virus, unlike the others that might cause mild illnesses and tend to cause flu-like symptoms and so forth, this one has a wide array of symptoms in terms of severity and how it affects persons, and we have seen it affecting every country. Practically, it has now become a pandemic. And so while we look at it, we recognize that persons will have mild symptoms, while you have others who may have very severe symptoms and even death. So it is a viral illness, but with the capacity to cause significant morbidity and mortality.
Before you tell us about our status in Jamaica, I was appalled. Somebody sent me a clip just today about a demonstration that they saw, and I guess I'm amazed because there are persons who still believe that COVID-19 is an ordinary virus just like the flu, and there's nothing to be worried about. There's no need for hand sanitization. There is no need for social distancing, and there is no need to wear a mask. It's just a flu, and it's just mere propaganda, and persons are being paid to spread this propaganda. You are in the field. Medical professionals have been infected by the virus, and many have died, and many have suffered severely as a result, and a lot are still incapacitated. Tell us, is it just a flu and we are overreacting? Am I overreacting at Faith Temple when I stick out that you have to sit 6 feet apart from each other? You must wear a mask when you come in. We have hand sanitizers at every entrance to the church. Am I overdoing? Am I crazy?
Not at all. And that's exactly what we want people to be doing. You are protecting your congregation, you're protecting those around you, and in not just protecting them, but you're protecting yourself as well. This is one of the biggest challenges we've had, I think, in terms of dealing with this. we look at it and we recognize that it's it's a viral illness, which means it is because you are infected from person to person transmission. But if it is that you are able to arrest the process in terms of preventing that transmission from one person to the next, then you're able to curtail, you're able to stop, you're able to cut down the transmission. And because you have persons who believe that this is propaganda, they believe what all the different theories that they have, it causes a problem in terms of that need for behavioral change. Because if it is, for example, if I may use this example, you have set like this a domino effect, or you've put a line of matches sticks together, and you've lit the fire at the beginning, or you've hit the one domino, and so if every person who is in that row does not believe, does not intend to stop that chain of transmission per se, then he will continue right around until it reaches the end. But if somewhere along that chain you have at least a few persons who will adhere to the protocols and will step out of the line of the persons who do not wish to conform, then you can see some effect, you can see some change. But until people are willing to make the change, to understand that it's a personal responsibility, and until you're able to say my actions matter, it's not about the people over there and what they're doing, but my personal action matters. And so if everybody realizes that their actions matter, then we will start to see significant change.
So then, in this studio, air condition is on, hair sealed because you have to be soundproof. I am putting you 6 feet from me, just
Yes.
way over there.
Yes,
Is there easy, maybe it's more than 6 feet
Yes,
because your hand
definitely.
can't even touch mine.
No, not
And
at
there's
all.
table between us. I'm not crazy then to do this.
No, not at all, not at all.
Because some folks should want us to feel that, oh, Bishop or Costa Pitkin, you're just crazy. You don't need to do that. But I think it's protecting you,
is,
and
yes.
protecting me,
Yes,
protecting
yes,
your
yes.
family, protecting mine, and the people that
Yes.
moves around me.
Yes. As we look at it, what we have to understand, and I think some persons still are not clear on that, is that where we were in this outbreak a few months ago, 2 months ago, even a month ago, it's very different than where we are now. You know, we were at the stage in early February where we're looking at, at least at that point in time, preventing the illness coming to the island. Of course, the government was prepared. Of course, the Ministry of Health prepared in terms of all the possible phases. And as time went on, we had our first case, and there were measures that were put in place. But now we have gotten to a different phase, and the minister would have announced it, I think, on the 2nd of September to indicate that we are now seeing community transmission.
Okay, so you're going to take us right into the status report now,
Yes,
and where we are.
yes.
Good.
So up to yesterday, we recorded a total of 7,109 cases. And
Wow.
so far, and that is quite significant.
Oh, yes.
And so far, we've had 123 COVID-19 related deaths, and some of these deaths, so there are additional deaths are under investigation at this time in terms of classifying what would have been the cause to say. Some might have been coincidental, some may not necessarily have been related to COVID-19, but they're presently under investigation. In terms of St. James, we have recorded 538 cases.
Are you serious? Because we're not getting the parishes. Well, sometimes I do get the map that shows
Yes,
me
the
where
map
we
that
are.
shows.
Yeah.
And so we have new cases as well. And when we look at it, we recognize, so this would have been, all these numbers are cumulative cases, but we've recognized that over the last month or so, the numbers have been climbing.
Rapidly.
In terms of overall
Rapidly.
cases, yes. And what community transmission means is really, it is now difficult for you to identify a source of where exactly you're
Can you say that again, doctor, because people need to hear
yes,
this?
Yes. So you're unable to identify. So if I may use a scenario, and sometimes the best thing is to use a scenario. So let us say we were just comparing the phase. So initially, the case was not here, but John came from overseas. While here, John became ill, or John didn't become ill, whichever the case may be. But then I noted that after probably about just 3 or 4 days after interacting with John, and I'm starting to have flu-like symptoms, with a sore throat, commonly loss of smell and taste. And then I said, okay, I'm not feeling well. When we look at it at that point in time, because there is not community transmission, or we are able to look back and say, because you interacted with John, your likely source of getting the disease would have been from John. So you're able at least to identify, and so then we're able to look at all the other persons who would have come in contact with John, all the persons who have come in contact with me, and so you're able to find a source and identify to say this is likely where it would have started. In community transmission, we're not able to say that anymore because you're not able to highlight a particular area. Even if you may say, for example, you have contacts, two persons live in the same house, I may start to exhibit symptoms, and then my husband may become ill, so we say, okay, fine. But it's very hard to identify whether or not I got it at work, whether I got it at church, whether I got it while interacting with somebody in a taxi, whether it was in the supermarket. So now we are looking at you see a high number of cases within the population. And so the mentality now has to change, because sometimes even in our professional sphere or outside in dealing with strangers or persons or acquaintances, we tend to be, very very alert. We sanitize, we make sure we wear our mask, but maybe we're at work, we're dealing with clients, however it is, and we are very, very, astute in terms of what we're doing. But then it comes to lunchtime, and we go to the lunchroom, and everybody takes off their mask. And yes, you have to take off your mask, eat, but nobody's thinking about how the distancing or how many people are in the room at the same time, and they're finished eating, and everybody's just sitting there having a casual conversation because the concern is, oh well, I don't think my friend has it. And so we have to change that mentality to say we have to look at it. Every single person is at risk for having it, and we have to start treating people as everybody being potentially at risk for COVID-19. And so it has a lot of implications how we respond to this, because we have a choice. It's either it is that we are going to now get into the frame of mind of taking the steps, doing the measures, or we're going to ignore, which means therefore you will have increased spread, and you yourself can become affected. And if I might just add, sometimes while a high percentage of the cases are mild, you have persons who exhibit no symptoms or just few symptoms, and they're very mild and may last for a few days. You also have people who have very, very severe disease, and eventually, unfortunately, they die. And it doesn't mean that I don't have an underlying condition, or I consider myself young, so I'll be fine. But you have persons, young persons, you cannot tell what the outcome of the disease will be if you are infected. So essentially, the best method is to prevent or to take the necessary measures to decrease the risk and spread.
We use this huge word, com-
Comorbidities?
comorbidity.
Yes.
Comorbidity. The average person don't understand what's comorbidity, and that's why when we started back in April, I started using physical distancing, because
Yes.
people could identify with physical distancing,
Yes.
but they could identify social
Yes,
distancing. So I
yes,
said,
yes.
all right, stay socially connected, but keep your
Physical
physical
distance,
distance.
yes.
Because we can socialize still, and we can keep apart. So what is comorbidity?
So we look at comorbidities as underlying conditions, meaning they are usually chronic diseases. Some of them common ones that we know are hypertension, which we talk, and chronic high blood pressure, diabetes, which we just say sugar. We have, for example, persons. So some of them are lifestyle related in terms of they may be, you may have them because you may be at risk before, and in terms of some lifestyle changes they may have. We also look at it, even though people may not necessarily consider it, but we look at obesity or being obviously as a chronic illness as well
Mm-hmm.
too. So these are illnesses that don't go away. You live with them, and they can be controlled depending on the necessary changes
What
that need to
about
be made.
cardiovascular, like
Yes.
heart
Yes,
disease
so some
or
persons do have
lung
heart disease,
disease? Would
yes,
they be affected
yes,
also?
and also you have persons, for example, who may have, some people are born, for example, asthmatic, so persons have asthma, other forms of lung disease. You have persons who are, for example, chronic smokers, and so they may end up developing lung disease as well too. We look at other persons when we say comorbidities or underlying conditions. Some persons who may unfortunately have cancer, different types of
Terminal
cancers
diseases,
and
yeah.
so forth. So they're different, and you have other persons who have other illnesses. They have some diseases where the body pretty much fights against itself. So you call those diseases autoimmune condition. So their immune system is not
Yeah,
as
lupus
strong,
and
and
that kind of
lupus
thing.
and
Yes,
so
that fights
forth. Yes,
against the body, yes.
yes. So you have all these conditions that essential, as I said, heart disease. Some of them people are born with them. Some diseases are acquired as you go along during life. But these things all put a stress on your system, and then adding a virus. So it's pretty much as if you're already compromised, and so it's as if you have let's say you have a trolley that's on 3 wheels versus four in terms of being stable. So something comes along and the virus comes along, it's easier to tip you over because you're already compromised and putting stress on the
And
system.
about seniors, because I'm told that if you're 70 and over, stay a ton of your yard. That's correct.
Yes, very much so.
So seniors, and this is senior citizen
Yeah.
month. So you're saying seniors ought to be careful also.
Yes, I think one of the concerns, particularly for seniors, as you grow older, you're more vulnerable. So some seniors, do very, very well. They're 90 and 80 and they don't have any chronic illnesses. They're fine. Eyesight good, everything is wonderful. But the concern is that you're more at risk, and even so, you're still more vulnerable. The point of concern is that you actually have seniors who stay at home, them kind of them yard, as we would say. They don't go anywhere. But they may have persons living at home who go in and out every
Younger
day.
persons,
Yes.
okay.
So they're at home, they don't go anywhere, but they end up getting sick. So in terms of that level of responsibility has to be there.
Okay, so you tell we have looked at our present status. We looked at the fears that we are in the
Yeah.
pandemic, which is community spread. Friends, you can call us 952-3436, 979-6856. Dr. Bailey Small is in the house. You can ask her a question.
Right.
Our communications director is with me this morning. He's manning the system. He is the engineer today because our engineer is on leave. You can send a message on Facebook or YouTube. He will get that message off and he will bring it into us, and Doctor will answer your question. So this is your opportunity, right? To ask any questions you want to ask, and she is here. What the pastor can't answer, she can. I got a message from the Minister of Justice, because we communicate regularly as
Yeah.
custodians across the island,
Yeah.
that he's asking us to get justice of the peace. And here you're going to come in now to help to encourage persons to wear masks and to do and observe the protocols. But when we started in April, I just went out because I said I needed to protect the citizens of St. James. That's my
Yes,
responsibility. And rather than just getting on the airwaves and say, hey, remember social distancing, do it from my pulpit, do it in other areas, let me do something very practical that they could see. So I started out by raising funds. And just want to again give a shout out to all my donors. I was able to distribute over 7,000 masks.
Wow.
In the first instant, we got like from Pings, Jamaica, we got 3 rolls of fabric, and Justice of the Peace businessmen just came on board and just funded.
Yeah.
And so we were able to do that in the first instance. I went down to the market myself, along with my team, and
Yes.
Yes, the pastor, the custos, the bishop was out there handing a mask to somebody at Charles Garden Market and said, hey, you need to wear this, and this is
Yes.
the reason why. And so some of these practical things that we need to do to help persons, and know that you're in community, the community phase. I think it is more important now that we re-emphasize the importance. I still see people downtown,
Oh yes.
Dr. Bailey Small.
Oh yes.
Listen, maybe 10 in every 100 wears a mask.
True.
Most of them wear it on top of their
Oh
forehead,
yes.
under the chin, or it is hanging down on one side, or it is on but just covering the mouth. Those are the kind of, how are we, in the name of the Lord, going to get the attitude and the change and adjustment that we need?
It requires, I think, while we have the large scale messages, it's really having targeted interventions. I have found, and it's not just talking from a medical perspective, but I found one of the things is sad reality in life is that sometimes, unless people are directly affected, they tend to have a level of indifference.
Yes.
And so sometimes it is that when they're affected, and that is the point where their perspective changes, but really you don't want it to be at that point where it is that you become severely ill and you're in the hospital, or you've lost a loved one because of COVID-19. Then you're thinking to yourself, maybe if I had worn my mask, if I had taken more precautions and all of that, then maybe things would be different, because you really don't want to do that. But what we've done, and we've been trying to do that, especially in terms of where health is concerned, to try to reach out in a practical way to get persons to understand the implications of their actions. In terms of the mask wearing, most places, and we applaud them for that, and they will say mandatory, you can't come inside if you don't have a mask.
Even during the week in the office hours, you can't come in here without a mask.
Yes.
You're stopped downstairs, right? And well, on Sunday mornings, we have masks to give to those who come, because you come into
Yes.
worship. But we can't promise you have a mask.
Yes.
Everybody comes, so you have to go back and get your mask, because
Mask
you
and
can't
so
come
forth.
to the door.
Yes, and so that is one step. And you did indicate the persons who they have on their mask, but it's everywhere except where it's supposed to be.
It's supposed to be.
So it's on the chin, it's on the forehead, it's somewhere. And somebody asked them, where is it? It's in the back. And
Oh, yes.
unless
Or in
there
the
is
pocket.
some stipulation or something, then they say, oh boy, let me put it on. If there's some consequence to the action. But certainly we really do need the persons. The other issue also is that we have to be, wearing a mask is one thing, wearing it properly, but also we have to also be cognizant of what we do while we're wearing the mask. So we understand that there are some people who have the general tendency to touch the face. So there's always a temptation. You know, they have the mask and they're touching it 1,000,000 times.
Oh,
You know, they're
yes.
touching it. We're human, so we're human means it can happen, but it's always remember to quickly to sanitize and stuff. We know we had a significant shortage of hand sanitizers and Lysol and all of that. But I think things have kind of settled now, so hand sanitizer is regularly available. So it's just to make sure that we maintain a practice, and if we don't have hand sanitizer, then at least to wash the hands as frequently as we can. So those simple changes that we need to make, and I don't think it's not changes that are just related to COVID-19, but these are really things that we should be doing in general in terms of frequent hand washing, sanitizing. I know the mask might be something a little new, but the other practices are something that we really should be doing.
Tell us about the implications, because we're talking about all of these things. What are the implications of disobeying the protocols and the guidelines? What are the implications of being careless and carefree?
So the sad implication, as if people continue to ignore the proper protocols, then we're going to see more cases. And remember now, the number of cases we see in terms of positive cases really depending on the testing that is done. So you have persons who actually go undiagnosed. You have persons who may not even though they're ill, they're not going to necessarily report and go for testing because they may be mild. But in turn, we'll see more cases. So persons not sticking with more cases. The challenge, the unfortunate thing is that we won't just see more cases, but then you'll end up seeing more severe cases and more deaths. And it is, I think, one death is even one death
One
is
is too
too
much.
much. It's too
One is
much,
too
and
much.
we're looking at 123
23
deaths.
and growing.
You know, yes, one of the sobering things for me, as we look at this outbreak and we look at it worldwide, we've had over 35 million cases worldwide, more than a million deaths um, worldwide as well, is that there are so many people who would have, at the beginning of this pandemic, looked at COVID-19 from afar, and unfortunately today they're no longer here because they have died from complications of the disease. And it is really sobering to look at. And so we really need persons. And there are people now, if we don't continue, we go forward, we'll see persons who might actually die from the disease. So it's quite sobering, it's quite sad. So we need to make the changes.
To say I'm concerned is, I guess I'm just being very mild, but I am concerned because although the senior person stays home, the younger person goes out to work or go to their party or wherever they go and jive with each other and come back home and they don't feel anything. They are asymptomatic.
Yes.
So they don't have any symptoms, but they are carrying the virus. They're carriers, and then they infect a senior person at home, and the person died. But it's no
Yes.
longer just seniors alone. COVID knows no bound.
No, it does
It
not.
doesn't know any age group. It doesn't know any status
No,
or
it does not.
ethnic background, color, or religion. Doesn't know that you are president or prime minister, king or queen or prince
True.
or princess.
That's very true.
It is coming at anybody that
Yes.
lays bare and lays careless. So what is the next step? And what should we expect?
So as it is, the government, the Ministry of Health, in terms of protocols and policies, will continue to do the necessary, and as we go through the pandemic, make the necessary adjustments to protocols and changes. But again, as we do all of this, we still require the input of persons. The fact of the matter is things can still get a lot worse, or they can get a lot better, depending on how it is that we respond to the situation. Because when we look at it, we recognize that this is something that you can actually do something about. When we talk about, as we mentioned, about the persons who are asymptomatic, we have seen that asymptomatic persons can spread, but to a lesser extent, but mainly persons who are symptomatic, who are considered at least infectious at least 2 days before and 2 days after they start to show symptoms. And sometimes when you look at it, you don't even recognize it as symptom. One of the common symptoms, loss of smell, loss of taste, which persons don't even recognize that's happening until a little while they may pick up on it. So really, as in the next step, I know the ministry is constantly revising the protocols, constantly discussing, looking at what is the best way forward, looking at the evidence that's available, because a lot of the evidence that wasn't available to us, let's say in February, a lot has changed since then, and we've learned a lot more. So using that knowledge, using that information to guide the decisions. The disaster risk management order has been put in place to protect us, and so we really do need to stick to what is happening. So as we go through this phase, I think we will continue to see changes in terms of protocols and guidelines as we adjust to living with COVID-19, but in the same breath, we also need persons to take that personal responsibility so that we are able to stem the illness that's happening at this time.
A lot to learn, a lot to know as we go along, and it can be frightening.
It can be.
Remember, friends, if you want to call, if you have a question for the doctor, Call us on 952-3436. Simone. Okay, all right. So I'm told that we're going to hear Simone later on. We have the doctor in the house. 952-3436, 979-6856, and you can uh, send us a message via Facebook or YouTube. If you're on the cable, you can call us. Doctor will answer your question. After we leave here this today, we will replay this session that we have, if you don't mind,
Not
Doctor.
a problem.
We'll replay it, but you won't be able to call. You can maybe send us message and someone will try and get the answer to you, but this is the time that you can get the answer. Persons tend to be afraid. Persons are scared. Persons are flipping now. I'm telling you.
Yeah.
I've seen it. Persons are paranoid, while others, in their cavalier style, are just going around the place. But I want you to tell us in the next another 5 minutes or so, Doctor, how can we lessen the impact? It is spreading rapidly. I know there is a community in St. Catherine that since over the weekend they are in there, they are trying to assess to see what is happening. We saw in St. Thomas where just one person went into a church
Yes.
and
Yes.
he was prayed for, and the entire area, and I know that you are very well,
Yes.
2-3 communities around that neighboring had to be closed. The same thing happened in Clarendon, same thing happened in Portmore. It is something that the impact can be devastating
Yes. Yes.
on
Yes.
health and on life. They're not just dying, but the difficulty in breathing, the pain, the trauma
Yes.
that one goes through. You just have to hear somebody
Yes.
who has come through. There's this lady, senior person in St. Elizabeth, who shared her experience. There's this guy on CNN, Como,
Yes, Como.
that shared his experience. And if you knew him before and saw him when he was going through the thing and just came out, it's just mind-boggling, just blow your mind. So how can we lessen the impact?
It requires everyone working together. You know, as you mentioned about the impact and so forth, we've seen the stories shared of persons who, some of them unfortunately didn't make it. They would have probably made videos and uploaded on Instagram, and they've been talking about, they're going to try to, they're working, they're being positive, they're going to come through, and unfortunately they didn't. So many messages want talking to people, people sharing their own personal experience about COVID-19 not being a joke. Because there are persons who, even though, and we don't even know at this point in time what the long-term effects are, because this is something that's new, people who after recovering from the disease have never fully recovered, they're still having complications and problems. So at this point in time, what it is that we can do, it's the simple things. It's the simple things. And as we say, every person's action is important. So we talk about, yes, we wear our mask, but when we wear our mask, we make sure we wear it properly. We talk about understanding, changing the mindset to say we are in community transmission. Everybody, including myself, is at risk for transmitting COVID-19. And so we have to now look at not just protecting ourselves, but protecting other people from ourselves, just in the event that we are. If we become ill, take the necessary precautions. If I'm feeling ill, don't go to work and say, let me see if I can hide it and nobody will know that I'm sick. Let me go to work, because then you are exposing other persons. If you are ill, and then the whole workforce, the whole department or wherever it is becomes ill, essential services can't be carried out, and so the workforce in that environment is crippled, and we've seen that. it is about making the changes. Here we sanitize, yes, we talk about that, but making sure to keep our environment clean, sanitize, make sure you frequent hand washing, some of these simple protocols. When we talk, especially, we talk, so that's home, to make sure we keep the place clean, to maintain the distance, love people. You have to start to learn to love people from afar. I love you, but we can't be all huggy, huggy, and so forth. We do have to maintain the distance. When you get home, there are certain changes that you may have to make in terms of dealing, how you deal with your clothes, how do you deal with your environment. So these things it requires a conscious effort to look at what we're doing in terms of making changes. At the workplace in particular, we've seen that in terms of other business places now, you step in, they check your temperature. But it's not just about checking the temperature, you have to know what you're checking for. Making sure the monitor, the thermometer is working correctly. It is a correct thermometer that is used for human beings. I've been into establishments where they're using meat thermometers to test persons. You have to make sure it's correct. In terms of sanitizing, yes, and maintaining that maintaining the practices, whether you are at work, you're at home, whether you're in a group, and also having a plan. Having a plan. All workplaces at this point in time are expected to have a COVID-19 plan. So how it is that they're going to maintain their environment, keep their environment clean. If a staff member becomes ill, how do we handle it? So all of these things are things that we need to do both on a professional, personal basis, but it really does require a lot of effort. We look particularly about at schools reopening too. I know our kids have been out of school for a while.
And we'll be out for a while longer.
And they're still trying to figure out how best to do it. And we recognize that life as we know it has changed significantly. I think now we're learning that a lot of the meetings that we thought we had to have face to face have now become virtual meetings, and we're learning to cope with that. So we have to continue to practice these measures and just to maintain the necessary practices. It's not easy, but first it requires the mindset and the will to do what must be done. Wonderful. And then also following up and maintaining what it is that we need to do.
Do you think that adequate rest help? Because some of us, like myself, are not getting enough rest. Yeah. Proper dieting, having your vitamin C and your multivitamin, just trying to keep your immune system up.
We have to.
But don't use that to drop your guard.
No, and again, we look at that. So, exercise, yes, is important.
Oh, yes, I walk, 3.8, 3.9 miles.
Excellent.
I don't mean kilometers, miles. Excellent. Don't tell anybody.
Excellent.
But what I try, and I've had other persons now coming and joining me walking in the morning. Yes. So we go out early when it is pretty cool, but you get the fresh air, beautiful, and you feel the adrenaline flies in your head, and you feel good for the rest of the day.
Yes, because reality of it is that we have to learn to take care of ourselves. We have to understand also that illnesses exist, and as we are talking about COVID-19, I cannot forget this important point. We're actually now starting the early phase of the flu season. Wow. As well too. So I know in short order the flu vaccine will be available. It's usually, because of the different strains, it's usually done, and it's done yearly. So the flu vaccine, once it becomes available, that vaccine will be available for persons to obtain from Ministry of Health.
You have to come back and tell us about the flu.
Yes, sir.
And the flu, because a lot of people are crazy about vaccines.
Yes.
So you'll have to come back. We're going to have you back to talk about the flu.
Yes.
And dengue, which is
never
gone.
Yes, it's never gone.
And the vaccine for flu and how it works.
Yes.
But my mom, God bless her soul, she's gone home. But she had an underlying illness. She had multiple myeloma. So we had to ensure every year she got her flu because she could not contract the flu.
Yes.
So, and then she said to me, "You are being too protective of me. Leave me alone. I can manage without you." And I said, "Well,
no, that's
you need to stay." And she felt, she was just too over. But knowing that if she contracted the flu, it could have taken her out quicker than she went, right? And I don't think I was ready for my mom to leave. Even back when she died, I was ready for her to leave. But God knew best.
Yeah.
And so we need, if we have that interest, that love for our parents, I guess we change our lifestyle.
That's very true.
Let me thank you for coming, Doctor, and for sharing today. It's really a pleasure. I'm really honored having you. And I say, just let me know when you can come back to do we're going to the flu season.
Yeah.
I'm hoping we can have a psychiatrist or a psychologist
Yes.
that we can talk about the emotional
Yes,
side of
yes.
COVID, because there's an
Oh yes,
emotional
yes. It is.
side to it. Persons they're having difficulty staying home. They want to get out, and some of
Yes.
them are going to go out. You can't pin down people for long. The Prime Minister get criticized because he opened up in Independence.
Yeah.
But where I sit and the persons I interact with, I could understand. You
Yes.
lock people down too long, they're going to rebel.
Yes.
They just, you can't do
Yes,
that.
yes,
Some of us are claustrophobic.
Yes. That's
We
true.
can't
That's
stay
true.
anywhere too long. We have to
That's
get
true.
out, and so that seemed to have spiked us a little bit. I'm hoping that we can bring one of the principals to come in, because again,
Yes.
parents are having difficulty when it
Yes,
comes
it-
to
yes, it's-
education. Now I look at my 5-year-old son, and I have to tell my grandson rather. Oh, sorry, I don't have a 5-year-old son, please. My 5-year-old grandson, and I had to say to his mother, listen, it's difficult.
It is. It is. It
It's
is.
just work with him. Don't rush him. He can't manage.
Yes,
It's hard.
it's hard.
And then his sister started school yesterday, and she is 13. And she now in second grade at Mumbai High.
Yeah.
The second form, or whatever they call
Yes.
it.
Yes.
Right? And she said to her mom yesterday, "No, I knew what Kyle going through."
Yes. It
Uh,
is.
yeah,
It is. It is.
because
it
she
is.
realized now that she's sitting before the computer. It's not an easy
It is not.
task,
It's not.
right?
It's not.
And so it's a difficult period, especially if you don't have the Wi-Fi is also a
Yes,
problem.
yes.
This morning I brought them down here, 2 granddaughters, that they could use my meeting room in the customs office, and they do power outage.
Yes.
And so they had to go down to the mom's home to see if they could work from there. It is a difficult,
It is.
difficult.
It is.
period.
It is. You
And
know,
we're
and
taking it too lightly.
that's true. And as you mentioned that, because when we look at it in terms of children being out, and so many parents have had so many problems, it means finding somebody to stay with the children, because they still have to go to
Have to
work.
go to work.
And even with the online, with doing classes virtually, they really require somebody to be
To
there with them
monitor
to
and
monitor,
help. Yes,
the
yes,
attention
it's
span,
tough,
and
it's
difficult.
tough,
So
it's tough.
it is difficult, and
It's tough.
people, and for those people who are diagnosed, who turn out to be COVID-19 positive, the stigma is still there.
Yes,
And especially for those persons who develop severe complications and so forth. It is really, really quite difficult. So the mental health aspect of it is quite significant.
Can you imagine? I thought we'd have cut to 45 minutes, so we have gone an hour. And we could go on. I just want to appreciate you being with us, staying with us, friends. And Dr. Bailey Small will come back and to discuss the flu season coming in and the
Yes.
vaccine and the precautions. This morning while I was out there, it started drizzling lightly,
Yes.
and I don't know that my immune system is that strong right now. So I was worried that the rain was going to come down on me, but I was able to complete my walk before
Wonderful.
before it rained. I was because I don't like to wear caps in the morning when I'm walking. But maybe in this time I need to carry my cap with me. Be safe, my friends. You can still drop us a note. We will try and get the answers for you. And we are going to continue the education where we can get next, whether somebody from the education system or somebody from he's a doctor too, but a psychiatrist or a psychologist to come in and discuss with us. Remember, program is Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday at 12 to 1 p.m. And on a Wednesday, we are at 1 to 2 p.m. And the program is a time of reflection. So thank you for being with us today. Let's just continue prayer and continue to watch over each other, care for each other, love each other, be there for your family, be there for your children, especially now, and as much as possible. And every opportunity you get, share your love and your affection with your family. Let them know you appreciate them,
Yes.
because who knows, one day they may never be around us. God bless you, um, Sister Simone, and the team will be taking us out today. And it was so good to have been able to share this time with you. God bless you. Walk good. Keep safe.
Nothing just happened. Oh, under the banner of His will, even in death, pain, separation, disappointment, nothing just happened. Jonah was sent to Nineveh. Oh, but he went to Tarshish. See, he disobeyed God and got thrown from the sea. But what Jonah didn't know was better than his mistakes were in God's plan. See, nothing we do can ever turn His mighty hand. Oh, oh, listen, yeah. Nothing just happened. I want somebody to listen today. Under the banner of His will. See, even in death, pain, separation, disappointment, nothing just happened. Can I talk to the people of God today? See, how can a man stay alive 3 days in the belly of a fish? Oh God. Then comes out